G'day everyone, and welcome to this incredibly exciting new season of the CFStrong podcast. I'm your host and fellow CF patient, Bradley Dryborough, and as a 20-something-year-old living with cystic fibrosis, I know that this decade of our life is not only challenging, but rather it comes with some big questions we ask of ourselves. I've taken the time to sit down with 6 guests who, like me, are all in their 20s living with cystic fibrosis as they share their honest and unique perspectives on 10 big questions. Across 10 separate episodes, I'll ask one question of all 6 of our guests. In this particular order, you can expect to hear answers from Adam, Blake, Caitlin, Ellie, Sam and Taylor. In this 7th episode of our series, we'll hear from each of our 6 guests as they answer, having CF can cause financial stress. How are you planning financially for your future? And are there any benefit schemes that have helped you along the way?
Yeah, so I honestly haven't really planned for the future financially. I just never developed that side of life because I've never really had the money to do it, I suppose I'm on mobility allowance at the moment also, which helps a lot in terms of medication. It just covers me with my meds. And that's honestly really helpful. But now I'm on Trikafta as well. I have been thinking about the future financially. I haven't really figured that out yet, but it is something I am currently going through.
Yeah, well, it's on the finance end, for me, again, I'm very lucky to do what I do. This year has been the year that the career in stand-up has really kicked off. But there were, especially first moving to Melbourne from the country, trying to pay rent, especially during the pandemic and stuff like that. It got very, very rough at times. I remember there, being some nights where, I had less than $10 in the account. So now that I do have a sort of, a more stable sort of income, from, doing shows here or there and just touring and stuff like that, it has allowed me to, actually make a budget, plan for the future. Obviously being with my girlfriend, that's another income, and we're just going to save for a house, do all the stuff. I think, I'm not really thinking in terms of CF at the moment, which I probably should, but I think at the moment I'm sort of just more focused on how can I do this as normally as possible. Because, CF's a thing where, anything could happen at any time. So, I think the best way to deal with that is just, plan for whatever, plan for the worst, but, hope for the best. So we're just planning as normally as we possibly can at the moment.
So finances are a tough one. That's actually a bit of a like a personal question at the moment, because me and my partner want to buy a house, and I definitely feel like I can't lift my weight from a financial perspective at the moment because he works full time and I don't. So it is definitely difficult. As I said, I'm so lucky that he understands and that isn't an issue for us, even though I think it's my personal feelings when it comes to that it is like you just feel a little bit like you can't give as much as you want. I'm very lucky that Centrelink has helped me in the past when there's periods that I can't work, and when I am in hospital, I'm not earning an income, so I do get a little bit of money from the government. But yeah, definitely finances are a bit of a struggle, especially when we can't work as much or lose time from work being in hospital, and working full time isn't an option due to just the amount of meds I have, energy levels. So the income is always going to be a little bit lower than, I guess, someone else my age who is able to work full time.
I definitely think that it does cause some stress. I think obviously everything is crazy expensive at the moment, but then also having to deal with that on top of, prescriptions and appointments that you can't miss. Sometimes you do, prioritize and potentially, sometimes as bad as it is, like my health loses out a lot of the time. Like I was saying, kind of similar to the time it takes to kind of go and get Trikafta, it's also, the addition that, there is somewhat of an out-of-pocket cost every time you have to go and get something. So that is almost, you would think that it's a non-negotiable, but you know, when you don't want to like not have a roof over your head, sometimes the roof comes first. So that's definitely been a struggle, but I do think that there are a lot of things that have helped me along the way, like being in Canberra, like CFACT have their child and adult assistance requests amounts, so 500 for children and 1,000 for adults. Subject to change, I think it might be 1,000 for both soon. I'm not too sure. But that's really helped, and especially kind of being in like heavily involved in health and fitness, a lot of the things that I do for that are not cheap. You know, gym membership, Pilates is definitely quite an expensive activity to have picked up. Running's probably the cheapest, to be honest.
Until you got a fascination with shoes, that is.
Yeah, well, that's true. But kind of being able to claim that back through that means that the weight of, you know, paying for those things is kind of lifted.
Yeah, that's another good one. Financially, geez, my financials have always been in shambles, and I don't think I'd be where I am if I didn't have my parents' support when I was younger, going through uni, especially trying to live as a uni student, but I also have to pay for medications and stuff like that. So yeah, I've been very lucky to have my parents' support for that. And now that I'm out of uni in the real world, the cost of living is getting worse and worse and worse. Unfortunately, I have to get 2 jobs to ensure I can, you know, save money, still live in Melbourne, and build savings. And that's just the way it is. Unfortunately, I have to work 2 jobs. And again, the career I'm in right now, it's not very money focused, so there's not much money there. But I am learning the hard way how to do financial planning, financial savings, and I guess working out a way to continue saving money, live a good and happy, fun life, but also have money saved up and there for medical expenses. It's just an extra step. It's just an extra step that people with CF have to take, and that's just the way it is.
Finances and CF, I feel like I'm one of those people that don't like spending money, but then if I do spend money, I spend way more than I want to. So like, I don't know, I'm kind of like a bit of a stickler for following my own rules, where I'm like, I want to save $5,000 in 3 months or something like that. I'm very lucky where I live at home, pay for my car, stuff for my dog, because I didn't tell my mum I was getting a dog in 2021. I just did it. So I think, I don't know, it depends how you look at it. When I was younger, I didn't ever see myself living past 25. So, I mean, it's a hard question because CF, it's not always like straightforward. There could be a whole up and down thing where you can't work, or maybe you can work a lot, but like health, how's that going to take to working a lot, and how much money you're going to have to put into buying extra treatments, stuff like that. Paying for it because maybe sometimes it's not covered by healthcare card, or maybe you don't have the healthcare card because you work too much, you don't work enough. I think, yeah, it's just for me, it's always do my best. Like, save as much as I can. If there's something that I want, well, get it. You know, life's short. Make a goal. I make a lot of goals for myself. And I wrote for CFStrong not too long ago, which is an article I think I just sent them, which is about like finances and CF. And I think I always make goals where I wanted to buy a new phone outright because my job's in media and comms. So I was like, well, I need a new phone that does everything I need it to do with extra space. So I saved in 3 months for a brand new like iPhone 14 Pro Max at the time. And I absolutely hammered that goal out. I really wanted it. So like I just make myself little goals. Maybe I'll have separate accounts for different stuff where I'll have like dog stuff, car stuff, random stuff that you want to get. And I'll just make like monthly goals of, okay, I want to save up $500 in that account, or maybe I want to save 1,000 here, maybe 100, 150 in that one. And it's kind of just all about making little goals, while keeping in mind, like, you know, your bigger financial stuff. Like maybe you have a service for your car coming up, rego due, maybe you have a power bill due, phone bill due, something like that, where you just have to keep that in mind and go, okay, well, let's make it fun and make a little goal. I'm also kind of a nerd where I like to-do lists, so I like being organised.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of our series. We thank you for taking the time to sit down and hear the value that each of our 6 guests provide, and we want to thank them for taking the time to be a part of the series too. We hope that this has not only been informative, but refreshing to hear that there are many different perspectives to each of these questions and challenges we face as CF patients. Once again, I'm your host, Bradley Dryborough. Thank you so much for tuning in to the CFStrong podcast.